Hi Floss Tube, it's Julie with Reflections Framing and Stitching. Today is Wednesday. It is the 29th of July, and today is Chart of the Day video number 68. How are you today? I'm good. We're getting a bit of rain right now, which is good. The only thing growing in my yard right now is the weeds. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I paying a yard company to fertilize my weeds? Because that's the only thing growing in the yard. And they're actually supposed to be killing the weeds, but they're having a grand old time right now. So a bit of rain is quite welcome. Not going to be enough to probably, make a dent in the drought. We're something like 8 inches under for rainfall. So, going to take a lot to get us out of a drought. But I hope you're having a good day today. I hope you got some stitching done last night. I stitched for a little while. I'm almost done with, I'm doing that. I'm working on the drawn thread seasonal samplers. And I'm doing winter right now. Autumn is done, working on winter. I'm almost done with winter. I have snowflakes to add, a tree trunk, bird beaks and legs. And I think that's it. So maybe tonight I can finish that up. If not, it should be done before the end of the weekend anyway. And that would be assuming I don't stitch a whole lot. So anyway, hopefully you got some stitching in. Question for yesterday was what other floss or YouTube videos you watch. Interesting answers, people. I had to look up what mudlarking is. I had never heard of mudlarking, and several of you mentioned you watch videos on mudlarking. So I looked up what it is. I haven't watched any videos on it yet, but I think I might have to because it sounds kind of interesting. So for those of you who did not look up what mudlarking is, it's looking for treasure in the, if I understand it correctly, the banks of rivers. I think it started over in England. Trying to remember what I read. I think it started over in England, but people are doing it along rivers everywhere, so it sounds really interesting. Another lady recommended the Crazy Lamp Lady, who goes to thrift stores and antique shops and buys things that are a good price and resells them on eBay. And I did watch one of her videos this morning while I was doing my makeup. That was interesting. A couple of you mentioned one called White Cottage Company, and I plan to check that one out. But there's some interesting cemetery tours. I used to love to visit cemeteries when I was in my younger years. I haven't gone lately, but I did enjoy going and reading the headstones. So I might have to check on some of those. This is not good. I could end up down a rabbit hole that I never come back out of if I'm not careful. So interesting answers. I encourage all of you to read the comments because there were some good things to look up. So thank you for responding to that one. Today's chart of the day just came in yesterday, and I don't know, it just struck me. I don't usually, I may be the only person on the planet that hasn't stitched a Prairie Schooler Santa. I think they're cute. I just have never stitched one. This, and aside from the one that's hanging on the wall over here, which is Woodland Santa from, I don't know, it was Mirabilia or Lavender and Lace or one of those companies. So I got a tickle. aside from that one, I don't think I have ever stitched a Santa. Mostly because I just, faces, I don't know, faces are hard. But there was something about this face that I really liked, and I like his beard. The color of his coat is different, so I really liked that. I don't know, there's something about this that really drew me in, so I decided to feature it today. It's called the Twin Peaks Santa 2020. It looks like this. See, look at that nice fluffy beard, and that's just DMC. It's not that whisper stuff. But his face just looks, I like his face. Faces are hard. I know they're hard to design. They're hard to get to look right, but there's just something about his face that I really liked. So I decided that this would be the chart for the day. The chart sells for $14. Called for fabric is dirty linen, or Aida, 32 count. Stitch count is 123 by 185. And it's all DMC. So those DMCs look like this. Pretty colors. This is his coat right here, which looks not as brilliant as this. In the it looks a little duller in my computer monitor too. I'm sitting in the back because the lighting up front was really bad today because of the rain. So it's not on the cover. When you're seeing it in person, that blue is a lot brighter than, I mean, it's still bright. It's, if you want to know, DMC 598. So it's still bright, but it looks even darker and bright. Can you be dark and bright at the same time? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, it's not looking as bright in the picture on my screen. I just liked it. So I decided that's what we would do today. Dirty linen looks like this. Kind of has, it's a brown, but it has a green cast to it. And there are your, let's see, and there are your colors. But dirty does not look like the picture. In the picture it looks kind of to me like a rusticy, natural kind of color. So that's kind of what I pulled, was kind of a rusticy. This is Confederate Gray, 32 count from Weeks Dye Works, and it's the old base, and it has just kind, it has like a I've been rode hard and put up wet kind of look to it. It was one of my mom's old sayings. Julie, you look like you've been rode hard and put up wet. This would be on the nights that I was out partying and had to get up early in the morning. But anyway, I just like the look of that. I don't like necessarily stitching on it, but I like the look of it a lot. Because it does look old and worn, and Santa is old and worn. This next fabric is a 28 count natural brown, which is not to be confused with raw natural. Natural brown is, I believe, a Wichelt fabric. Raw natural is a Zweigart fabric. They look about the same, except this is stiff. You can kind of tell it's not real floppy. But it would look good with the colors and have that kind of rustic look that I think this piece lends itself to. Another color I thought would be nice and is the Properly Primitive from Under the Sea Fabrics. And this is a, what is this? An 18 count Aida. And I think the colors would all look pretty on there. It's got that mix of green and kind of peachy colors, so it would look good. And the last fabric that I chose is called Earth. It's from Fiber on a Whim. It's a rich brown with hints of green in it. And I think the colors would really be pop off of there. Yes, I do. I can't see, so I don't know if that's really showing up well on here, but it's a pretty color. So those are your different fabric choices. And hi Floss Tube, it's Julie with Reflections Framing and Stitching. Today is August the 3rd, it's Monday, and I am going to attempt to finish up the video that I recorded back on July 28th or 29th, I think. It was last Wednesday. I had started recording the video. I had to pause it. I came back to finish the video, and apparently it did not record. And I think I was at the question of the day part of the video, so I'm just going to start from there, and then I will explain where I've been, because I have been on an adventure. So today is Monday, like I said. Question of the day for this past Wednesday should have been, has your stitching style, aesthetic, however you want to put it, has that changed since you first began stitching? Now, some of you who are new stitchers, probably not, but there's a lot of us who have been stitching for a long time, and I know mine has changed a little bit. I would say yes and no on mine. Like when I first started stitching, I did a lot of Mirabilias, I did a lot of Teresa Wensler, I did a lot of Debbie Patrick, and a lot of Paula Vaughn. Didn't stitch a sampler until just, I would say, in the last 8 or 9 years. And I still really love what I have stitched in the past. It's not like I look at them and I go, ew, what was I thinking? I still love looking at them. I still enjoy them, and I still have some in my stash that I fully hope to someday stitch. But right now, what's really drawing me, and part of that is because of the shop, is the samplers. So I'm just curious, has your style of stitching changed? Did you used to do Lizzie Kate's and now you're doing Mira's? Or did you used to do samplers and now you're doing smalls? Or did you do larges and now you're doing smalls? What has changed over the years since you started stitching? That's my question for last Wednesday. So today, as I said, is Monday. It is the 3rd of August. Welcome. How are you? Like I said, I've been on an adventure. So those of you who aren't at all interested, you can turn out now. I'm just going to talk a little bit about where I've been, what I've done, what I've stitched. and hope I can add it on to the video from last time. Otherwise, this will be a complete and utter waste of time. So, where have I been? Some of you know that our daughter, Amy, was getting married on the 31st of July. She lives in North Carolina, and Dan and I were not planning to go because of COVID. Her numbers were high. We just didn't think it was probably a good idea to go. However, Tuesday she called and let me know that pretty much everyone that was supposed to be there, which I think they were only allowed 10 people, pretty much everyone but Emily's mother was not coming. Her dad had been exposed to COVID, so he was going to stay home, or they were going to tell him he needed to stay home. And I felt so bad that I decided that maybe I should go. So Adam had been over visiting that Tuesday, and I said, you know, Adam, would you be interested in driving to North Carolina for Amy's wedding? And he said, he would, that if I wanted to go, he would take me. Dan had already committed to babysitting Reese for the weekend because Abby was going to be in a wedding in Colorado. So Dan couldn't go. But Adam said he would take me if I really wanted to go. And I said yes, I really felt that I needed to go. So we made plans to get up early on Thursday morning and head to North Carolina. Wednesday, when I got to work, I just got to thinking about that drive, because it's a you know, without stops, it's over 15 hours to get from Omaha to Asheville, North Carolina. So I called Adam and I said, hey, you wouldn't by any chance want to leave after work today, and we could get, you know, 3-4 hours under our belt and have a much easier day on Thursday, because the wedding was Friday. And he thought about it and he decided that, yeah, that was going to be doable. So he picked me up. So then I had to hurry up and get things done at work and make arrangements for, you know, make sure that Dan could cover the shop for me, because I couldn't put it out there that I was leaving, because I wanted it to be a surprise. And I know that Emily watches my videos and she reads my posts on Facebook and Instagram. So I was like, I can't just put it out there, oh hey, I'm leaving to go to the wedding. The shop will be closed, because that would have given up the surprise, and I did want to surprise her. Amy's a very hard person to surprise. I really wanted to pull one off on her. So pretty much I just snuck out of town without telling anybody, except for the lovely lady I spoke to in Australia Wednesday afternoon. I did let her know that it would be Tuesday before I could get to her order, because I was leaving town for the wedding. So anyway, so we left. Adam showed up at the house at about 6. We got out of my house at 6:30 and on the road, and drove for about 5 hours and stayed in Columbia, Missouri the first night. Rained on us. Of course, it waited until after it was dark pretty much to start raining, and the roads didn't have that reflective paint on them. Couldn't see the road, so it was very slow going, very stressful. We got up the next morning and we're on the road at 6, thinking we only had maybe another 9.5 hours to go. Adam travels like I do. He doesn't stop unless the car needs gas, or you really have to go to the bathroom. So we didn't stop a whole lot, but we did run into, it was raining, and we ran into, what did we run into? 2 or 3 construction zones where we just sat. I mean, traffic wasn't even moving. Couple of car accidents, a minor flood. So our 9.5 hours of traveling turned into 13. We did not get into, it was after 8 o'clock before we got into Asheville. And my original plan was that we would go to check in, and then I would have the front desk call up to their room. I knew they had a dinner reservation at 6:30, and it was 90 minutes long, so I figured they'd be back by 8. It was well after 8 by the time we got there. So I asked them to please call up to her room and tell them that she had a delivery at the front desk that had to be signed for, and could she come down and do that. Well, no one answered in the rooms, and they called all of the rooms. So Adam and I took ours. He had to use the facilities, and we went upstairs, checked into our room, came back downstairs all masked up, and sat in the lobby, figuring that we would then see them as they came in the door and surprise them that way, which is what happened. They came through the door, and Amy kind of glanced over, and we had our masks on, and then I see her head kind of cocked this way, and then I hear, "Mom?" And I stood up and went over and gave her a hug, and she cried a little bit. She was very happy we were there. Gave Emily a hug, and visited in the lobby for a little while, and then we went up. They had a suite, so we went up to their suite, and they were practicing their vows, and so we visited for an hour or so, and then it was by then 11 o'clock, I think 11 o'clock at night. So we went to bed for the night. The wedding was at 10 in the morning. We were all reconvening in the lobby at 8:50. It was about an hour's drive to get up the mountain to where the wedding ceremony was supposed to be held. So Amy rode with us up the mountain. Emily rode with her mom and Alex, who is a friend of Amy and Emily's, and was going to be the officiant for the ceremony. So we're driving up the mountain. It was beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous. I mean, North Carolina was beautiful. I had quite a lot of time to sit and look at it because on the way there, because we sat on the interstate for a long time. So we're driving up the mountain. It's all twisty-turny, and as we get going further up, it gets foggier and damper and windier, and we get to the overlook that they're supposed to get married at, and it's like a monsoon up there. The wind is blowing and the rain is going sideways, and you can't see 2 feet in front of you. And the guy that runs the wedding business that they were dealing with, he says, "Well, let's give it 10 minutes. It looks like it's going to blow through in 10 minutes." Well, it did not blow through in 10 minutes. It was still socked in tight. So we changed the venue. He said, we'll go further down the mountain until we get to some good weather. So we drove back down the mountain and got to an overlook where it was sunny, and it was still windy, but it was sunny. It wasn't raining. Quite a few people there. But we went off to the side and had the ceremony. Everything went fine with the ceremony, and then we were supposed to. They had a lunch that they'd made reservations for on the outside dining area. So we were all supposed to go to lunch, and then Adam and I were going to start heading home because they were going to go to they had rented a Airbnb, and they were going to go there, and there was no reason for us to continue to stay in North Carolina then. So the plan was to go to lunch and then head home. Well, we drove by where we were supposed to have lunch, and the tables were set fairly close together. The chairs were very close together, and there were just people everywhere streaming by. And Adam looked at me, and I looked at him, and we're like, this is not a good idea. It truly is not a good idea. So we followed Amy and Emily in their car until they parked, and got out, told them that we did not think it was a safe place to go, and they understood. So we hit the road at about 1 o'clock Friday afternoon. So I think we were there a grand total of, I don't know, 12, was it even 12 hours? 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. About 17 hours we were there, part of them sleeping. So it was a fast trip. And then we headed out, and we got stopped by construction before we were even 30 minutes into our trip. Sat on the interstate for an hour and 10 minutes. Pretty much we would crawl just a little bit. Hour and 10 minutes we crawled until we got out of that. Had that happened 2 more times. Had another accident that we were delayed by. More rain. I mean, it rained on us almost the entire time. So anyway, all that to say, we got home on Saturday at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We drove as far as, where did we stop? We stopped in, started with an M. Marion, Illinois, I think, the first night. So we drove until about 11 o'clock. We actually did not make, I mean, we should have been through St. Louis, but because of all the delays, we did not make it through St. Louis. St. Louis was still almost another 2 hours at least away. So we lost quite a bit of time. But we stopped in Marion, Illinois, and then we're on the road by 6 o'clock Saturday morning, and we're home by 3. And then our friends from Wyoming showed up at 8:30 Saturday night. So we've been visiting with them. They left this morning. Had a great visit. This is the first time that they haven't had to rush back, because Ray used to coach football, and he'd always have to rush home for football practice. But he retired from football. And this would be his second year he didn't. So, but it's the first time that they haven't been in a real rush to go. So they actually stayed overnight 2 nights, and we had a good long visit. It was wonderful. And probably won't get to see him again for another year, but had a good visit. We've been friends since the 2nd year of our marriage, which, by the way, we celebrated 40 years yesterday of marriage. It was our anniversary yesterday, and we have been friends with them since the 2nd year of our marriage. Wish they were closer, or we were closer, or somehow we lived in the same city, but oh well. Anyway, so that is why I have been absent and silent, and why this video did not get posted, because I couldn't get it fixed before I left. And so that's what I know. I hope all of you have had a great weekend. Weather is beautiful here today. I did get a little stitching done in the car until I lost my scissors. We made a stop for lunch, just a drive-through, and I think my scissors probably fell in our bag that we put the trash in. And I didn't have anything cut to size, so, and I didn't want to stitch with, big long pieces of thread, so I didn't get as much stitching it done as I would have liked, since I was in the car for so long. It was breezy. But I did get some done. I just thought I'd show you real quick what I worked on. I took my samplers from the Scarlet House, and what I got done was, let's see, I brought the border down here and went that way, and this star and all of this I got done. So we did stop and get me a pair of scissors on the way home, so that most of that was done on the way home rather than on the way there. But I think I made pretty good progress for being in the car. And you kind of stomach gets a little queasy after a while, so I'd have to stop and read a book and then my stomach would get a little queasy from reading in the car. So then I'd listen to the book Adam had on Audible, which was not to my taste, or just watch the scenery. But it was a good trip. We made it home safely, which is always a good thing. I enjoyed the visit with Barb and Ray, and today I am staying home. Well, I went out for a little bit. I was sitting in this chair, which is kind of a camp chair, and it rocks. Last night we were sitting out on the deck, and I squished Remy. I rocked, and she was apparently underneath it, and I squished her. And so she couldn't even get her legs up underneath her last night. I was afraid I'd maybe broke a leg or something. And so I did take her to the vet this morning. Of course, the adrenaline starts to pump when she's at the vet, and she wasn't limping, she was jumping around. So he just gave her some painkiller and a shot of anti-inflammatory and sent her home. I was afraid I'd crushed her leg or something, but he says he doesn't think so. But the rest of the day I'm just gonna, I think, hang out here on the deck and do some stitching, maybe take a nap. I cleaned up the house already this morning, ran the dishwasher. I got to start a load of laundry. I have all the windows open, so I thought it'd be a good time to run the self-clean thing on the oven. So the oven is self-cleaning. I've been actually very busy so far this morning. So now I'm talking to you, and I think this is where I will end it for the day. Again, question of the day: has your stitching style changed over the years? And if so, tell me how. Probably won't get a video made tomorrow. I have a feeling I'll be kind of busy. Dan did run the shop, which is sometimes good and sometimes bad. He does the best he can, and I appreciate it. But sometimes he leaves me messes. Like, for instance, he made an appointment for me tomorrow at 10 o'clock for framing. I still am not taking framing, but I guess I am now. And at 10 o'clock, we're usually still working on mail orders, so I usually don't like to start appointments until 11. But I've got one at 10 o'clock tomorrow, so I won't get a video done. Not tomorrow, but I will try for Wednesday. So, in the meantime, you guys take care, get some stitching done, and I will see you hopefully Wednesday. Bye.